The Sophisticated Savage podcast features unfiltered discussions on a variety of topics, including controversial, explicit, and thought provoking content. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect those of the production company or its affiliates. Some discussions may not be suitable for all viewers. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised.
What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another edition of the Sophisticated Savages podcast. How y'all doing, fellas? It's been a while, and we're here by, believe it or not, popular demand. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback with our old episodes, and they just kept asking us, "When are y'all gonna drop? When are y'all gonna drop?" And we decided to drop. So, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Chilling.
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, popular demand. We decided to jump on here and do our thing. We give the people what they want. That's what we do. You know.
That's right. We are meant for the people. So recently, Haciel and I, to give everyone a backstory, we've gone to a few weddings, and we've all had unique experiences in in those weddings that we've attended. We have a married man in the show, so we figured, maybe this is you know, the universe letting us know, like, maybe we should touch base on marriage. And I that's pretty much going to be the overall theme of this episode. But since Hasiel's gone to two weddings recently, I figured it would be nice for him to give us some feedback and his experiences on what he noticed, and yeah, anything that comes to mind, Hasiel, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank y'all. Um, so I've been trying to figure out a way how to approach this topic. But I guess the best way to do it is probably a comparison between the two weddings that I attended recently in the last 2 months. Um, and they could not have been more different, right? So the first wedding was last month. I went to the ceremony was supposed to start at 12, right? They had like a whole agenda for the wedding. I get there. It's in a Catholic church in Washington Heights. Um, and it was very traditional, formal, and long, like hours long, man. Like I was there for like an hour, I think, before like the ceremony started. Like the start time was 12, and they did not start until like 1 or something like that, right? And then, the flower girl comes in and the bridesmaid and the grooms and they do like the whole thing. And then they start, they do the prayer, then we sit down, then like they do a whole session of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay. Then like it's just a lot of getting up and getting down and sitting down. I'm just like, okay. It got to the point where I started falling asleep, bro. Like I started falling asleep. I'm like, yo, this shit is mad long, bro. Like no disrespect, but I was not enjoying that part. But then eventually it got to the part where they started giving, I guess, their vows. So that was pretty dope. And then like the ceremony, they finished it off with like prayers and blessings to them, and it was like a lot of symbolism, right? For this wedding, and it just felt like, I don't know, like it was more performative than more performative for, like, I guess, the church and the family than, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, but it was more like their culture, their identity, and honoring the generations and everything that came before them, of what they know a marriage to be, right? So whatever, they get married, they come out, we take pictures, and everyone kind of goes their merry way into the reception, which is like hours later, which was okay. The second wedding was in New Jersey, and it was much more of a modern like wedding. I don't know if that's the right word, but it wasn't religious. There was no program or agenda. I wasn't wondering where we were on the booklet with this ceremony. It was pretty direct and straightforward. So the ceremony started at 5 in the afternoon. You know, we walk into the room where everybody can sit, either the groom's side or the bride's side, friends and family, whatever. Then comes the wedding officiant, who's a lady, which is cool. You know, nothing wrong with that. And she's like tells us like, oh, we're gonna start the ceremony or the ceremony like in a few minutes. So she starts, and it's very straight to the point. Like she's like, okay, here today we're at this wedding for so and this is how they met, and since that moment they've been in love, and you know, it was pretty cool. And then she's like, you know, and this person has taken on the responsibility to be the father of your kids and all of this stuff, and that's very beautiful. And then after that, it's like straight to the vows. So it was like maybe 15 minutes, if anything, like a very quick wedding, not long as heck. So once they dismiss, they you know they say their vow and they're like, okay, you can now kiss the bride. They kiss, they walk out, and it's like, okay, now you could join us at the reception, whatever, to go eat and dance and stuff. So super fast and super straightforward. I'm just like, holy moly, the difference between these two weddings. And it's like the point I want to like get to though about them is like one can be more performative and one could be like expressing of how you really feel with each other and just get it done rather than like drawing it out. And I like that one is less meaningful than the other. They're just meaningful in different ways. And I just had to like reflect on some of that for myself. Just because I'm not married and I've been to a lot of weddings, and I just, if I was to get married, I would consider possibly the more modern version that I attended rather than the whole performative of religious aspect of it. Um, and I just like appreciated how straightforward it was. Um, Yeah. And you could still feel like the emotions behind it, even though it was fast. Like, you know, they said their vows and they both started crying and we all laughed and like we all it was a joyous moment, right? Um so I was just comparing the two weddings. One can have like 500 guests, a choir, flowers everywhere in the reception, and the cost of it will be probably more than a house deposit. But it still doesn't mean like how well you got you guys would communicate as a couple after the wedding is done, right? Like, the wedding to me is like a public celebration, right? And eventually, after the celebration, the marriage still has to withhold between the couple when no one is around, right? Um, so it's just interesting to see how some couples want to celebrate their love and their commitment to each other, and some feel performative and some feel authentic. Um, and I think that's the main points I wanted to kind of to get across. Obviously, both weddings, the couples have known each other for like, well, one at least a decade, and the other maybe half a decade. So they're pretty significant time spent together. Um, and yeah, I wonder what you guys' thoughts are. I guess possibly on this, on weddings in general, or your personal opinion on, or personal experience on the weddings as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in before Cesar talks about his
Mhm.
experience and stuff. My wedding was more the modern side that you described. I think ours started at 5. The ceremony, I don't even know if it made it to half an hour. But the person that um, officiated our wedding, he was actually like the youth group leader for my wife when she was younger. And then she got to know me. So she got to see like our journey from the beginning to the, I was going to say the end, but we're not the end, but from the beginning to the wedding. Um, so it was cool to have her officiate the wedding and stuff like that. But ours was more like the modern side where we just, the groomsmen, we had our bridal party
Mhm.
down the aisle, whatever. It was at a location. So it wasn't, we didn't do it at a church or anything like that. The place where we did everything was all in one spot.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, I think it was pretty quick. She kind of told a story about how she knows us, what our names mean,
Hmm.
like the, I don't know what sense, biblical sense, Google sense, whatever sense. Um, and then we kind of went through a prayer, and then we had our vows, which is like the highlight of it all. It just kind of the
Hmm.
vow, which turned out funny because our vows were similar in certain aspects, which just kind of shows like the connection that my wife and I have had from our relationship, where
Hmm.
we referenced a lot of the same things. Like we referenced the show Friends, we referenced Nicholas Sparks and his movies slash books and stuff like that. Um, and then we did the reception, which was everyone just having fun and having a good time, music and dancing and all that stuff. I like that style. That was the style that we both wanted from the get. We didn't want to do the whole going to a church and then going somewhere else. Not because we're against religion. Like we both grew up in church for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, and we still go to church now. We still have our beliefs and stuff like that. It was just more, this is what we wanted. Like we wanted it to feel like us. Like we're two cool, laid back individuals. We want to make sure that our guests feel comfortable. We wanted to just have a cool vibe. Like we just wanted it to flow and just chill and be just cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Not that you went to my wedding, Hasiel.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Not just like
I thought about prefacing all of this by saying like I have been to a lot of weddings, but I did not go to Roberto's wedding.
he did not
Unfortunately,
decline the invitation. He just had a kid,
yeah,
which I think she was probably like what? She was
a
very
month.
young. A
Yeah,
month. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
So
good reason.
yeah,
A pretty good
unfortunately, and
reason.
I was very far. I was very
Yeah.
far on the other side of New York State. So,
Yeah.
oh.
So we gave you a pass. You're forgiven.
Thank you, thank you.
Was, was that was
How
that
about
was
you,
that
Cesar?
was that Eden? How's y'all?
Yeah,
Happy belated to Eden. Shout
thank
out.
you. Yeah, it was yesterday as well. Her
Yeah.
birthday. Yeah, she has fun. She's growing up so fast, man.
Yeah, man.
About
That's
to be a
another
teenager.
episode.
She about to be a teenager.
That's for
She just got a phone too. Not to go off topic, but she just got a phone too.
Yeah, maybe we could
damn.
do one where we could do an episode on kids. That'll be something for a future. But
Yeah.
the wedding I went to was also a little more like a modern concept.
Okay.
Um, I went to Cancun, so it was a destination wedding.
Nice.
It was beautiful. Originally, it was firstly it was my cousin Freddie that got married with to Tiffany. They've been together for a pretty long time now, and so they did have like a little ceremony planned to be. It was gonna be in like in the beach area. It was a
Hmm.
really beautiful setup, but Mother Nature had other plans. It started raining, and the lights went off, so we was without electricity in the
Are you
rooms for
serious?
a couple hours. Yes.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So, but the resort was, they had a backup plan. They set it up for like for it to be indoors. So inadvertently, the wedding became a little bit more public because other people that are in the resort can now see the ceremony more.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could be chilling in a restaurant and they could still see it from the window type thing. So that's how it was. But the couple, I'm pretty sure they were pretty stressed about that and pretty bummed out.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't really show it too much, at least not in front of everyone. Like they kind of they held it together, And my cousin even did a speech during the reception. That he was like, "Look, this is how we pretty much met like this. So this is just part of the thing. We're gonna make it work, and don't worry about it. We're gonna have a good time, and let's just celebrate us because we here. We got our family, friends here, and let's just have a good time and make the night memorable." And we did that. It was beautiful, man. The speeches that were given there were amazing.
We're
Um, I don't know why, but typically in weddings, whenever you see like the father and the daughter and the bride dance, like that part always gets to me for some reason. And like that was one of the more sentimental parts of um, the wedding. I think that based on Hasiel's like perspective and opinion on with weddings, I think that especially hearing from Roberto, I think the couple really needs to be in sync with each other, and really have that same vision for the wedding in order for it to come out successful and it doesn't look like an act. It looks authentic. Like I
Hmm.
personally felt like the wedding that I went to was very authentic. I could tell how much they love each other, how much like they truly choose to be together every single day. Like you felt that like like it was a high radiance. Obviously, me for my particular traditional beliefs, I would like to get married in a church setting and then maybe go off to a reception because I just feel like that whole ceremony part of it and is pretty important to me and probably will have to be important also for the person that I choose to be with for the rest of my life as well. But again, I just feel like, and I got to experience a wedding like that last year when my friend Elaine got married to Anthony. They also did a destination wedding, and they did it in a church, and then they had the reception nearby. Basically, it was just right there, like a hall that we all was able to attend, and that was another wedding that seemed pretty authentic as well. Um, so yeah, I think it all depends really. Um,
Hmm.
you know, I thought both weddings were beautiful, and I had a good time. Destination weddings are pretty fun, but they can bring a lot of stress because not everything might not go your way. You would have to hope that certain things you will have to be prepared for stuff that you don't have control over, right? Um, but I also wanted to talk about today, when it comes to marriage, like we all have ideas of how marriage is gonna be. So I wanted to get like your perspective on, especially Roberto, since he's actually in it. But like, do you remember how you envisioned marriage to be before you got married, or and Hasiel could jump in too and see what did y'all feel would make a marriage work before it, you know? Yeah, yeah, I get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't vividly remember what I thought the idea of marriage was or would look like for me. I knew that there had to be a love concept, obviously. A real connection with somebody. Uh, and I thought communication, like the basic stuff that everyone says, communication, trusting, honesty, all that stuff had to be mixed in there in order to make something work with somebody who at one point was a complete stranger to you. Um, you kind of see growing up, you see different ideas of marriages, whether it's your parents, if you have older siblings that get married, or cousins, or whoever, aunts, uncles, whatever the case may be. And you kind of look at each one. And for me, what I always used to do is I would kind of pick it apart, almost like I do it when I'm breaking down, like or doing a sports breakdown. I look at what I want to talk about, what I want to keep, what I don't want. So, not to throw family under the bus, but for my parents, for example, my dad was a provider or is a provider, and my mom was a stay at home mom ever since she had me. So I saw my mom just doing all the like quote unquote house chores. So she'd do the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of us, serving the food, all that stuff, doing the laundry. For me, I was like, all right, that's cool, but I want to learn how to do those things because I didn't want to just depend on my wife to do everything for me. So one of the things that I would do is like learning the quote unquote man roles. I know to reference my dad. All right, this is how he provides. This is the emotional support he provides. How do I want to do that as a man? But then also as a man, what do I bring to the table besides just the money? I want to learn how to do the laundry, how to cook, how to do, and which I know how to do all that stuff. So I'm a very self-sufficient individual on my own. Um, and then now it was about bringing someone in that one could also do those things because I didn't want it to be now like a reverse situation where I do everything and this person doesn't know how to do anything. So I needed some type of foundation at that point. And luckily, I find myself a partner who knows how to do all that stuff plus more. And now it's just about learning to mesh those things together, how to balance things out, how to make certain things work, but then also bringing in, for lack of better words, like the baggage we bring from our childhoods and those environments into one household and figuring out how to unlearn certain behaviors, learn new ones, and kind of work together as a team for the betterment of the household, essentially. Um, is it easy? Hell no. If it was easy, everyone would freaking do it, and you wouldn't see divorce rates at where they at. Um, some people manage it differently. You know, we've been together since 2009, got married in 2015, so we're going on 11 years married this September. And like I said, it has not been easy at all. Does it get easier? Yes, there are moments where it gets a lot easier. Have we had arguments? Hell yes, we've had arguments. We've yelled at each other. We've not talked for a couple days. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, we're not going to leave each other. So we got to figure this shit out, basically. So what's step one to figuring this out? And then just kind of going from there and learning to grow as one, as individuals, and learning to reflect, but then also learning to grow as a partnership, as a friendship, as this cohesive unit. And again, just learning how to communicate with each other in the most um, effective way, but also in with compassion and with just learning how to speak to each other. Like, yeah, I have to, like, yeah, I'm gonna get pissed. She's gonna get pissed. But how do I not rip your heart out by telling you I'm not okay with this? How do I approach it in a certain way where it's like, I'm gonna communicate to you the way it's best for you to understand it, but also the best way for me to express it, and just finding that healthy balance. And I think that's, I would say we're in a, not knock on wood, we're in a really good spot in terms of that we have been for years now, where we learn how to communicate and talk to each other and things like that. And not saying it's perfect by any stretch, because it's not. And not to get into details, but I told you guys about a recent situation that was irrational slash rational on my part. That it was just like a read my mind. This is what I feel, without me saying it out loud until we got into the conversation about it, and then figured it out. Realized it was nothing. Um, but marriage is a funny thing, man. Like the idea that you have growing up, there are aspects of it that are true to it, but once you're in it, you realize like one, oh, it's not that hard, but also like, yo, I got to put in work for it to not feel that hard, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like it's your work every single day, and you know, some of the work is easy, some of the work is just you're fine tuning some things. Sometimes you need a full overhaul of something to really like put things into perspective and say like, yo, this is how we're gonna make it work. And you know, if you're able to get past those things, you realize like, oh shoot, like I'm just hanging out with my best friend every single day, and there are other perks to it that you know you don't have with non-married friends. That that's where the intimacy and all that other stuff kind of falls into play. But at the end of the day, like you're just having a great time with your best friend for the rest of your life every single day. And it's when you look at it that way, it's like, shit, this is dope. And if that's something that you want to choose for your own life, then I'd say go for it. If you find that person that you feel like you can hang out with forever. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on
That was like beautifully said.
it.
It really was, yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of insight there. Um, To be honest, I know a lot of folks that have been married a long time, but I believe your marriage and my brother's marriage to the second wife, because they also been married like 10 years now, are like the two married couples I kind of look up to and kind of want to like not mold, but eventually, if I do get married, I hope it would look something similar to that. Just being able to talk to your partner, communicate, and figure things out together. It's a beautiful thing. Uh, and yeah, I think you guys are awesome. um, what was the other question? Since I forgot.
Yeah, no, well, before we get to that, because Roberto said a lot of gems there,
Yeah,
um,
seriously.
said a lot. So I'm just trying to see how what's a proper follow up for him. Um, like you mentioned that there was something in your head that you kind of wanted uh, for her to figure out or something like that, right? But you noticed like, all right, I gotta communicate this. Like how many of those thoughts go out through you that you're like, damn, I don't even want to mention this, but I'm gonna have to if um I really want this to work because I can't pretend that she's a mind reader. Like how many instances of that do you go through? Like, I would say.
Honestly, it's probably less and less as years go by. I
Okay.
think at the beginning, because like even before marriage, like when you're in a relationship with somebody, I think you're scared of how they will react to something you feel.
Mhm.
Like if you say, "Oh, yo, this bothers me because whatever," like that, you might be scared. Like, "Oh, damn, this person's gonna leave me if I say X, Y, and Z." So I think that's where sometimes you have to take a chance, but also know how you're taking that chance. Like, don't just say, "Yo, I don't like the fact that you leave your dish on the table and walk away." Be like, "Yo, you're done with your dishes. Can you mind putting it in the sink?" Like the tone of which you use it. Not that that's a situation here. We don't leave dishes on the table. I just didn't know what else to say, but
It's a good
uh,
example.
I think it's the form and the tone in which you communicate that kind of changes your mindset in saying, "Oh, wait, I can communicate this. I can say this." And I think the level of sensitivity then starts to decrease, and you
Mm,
can now say things that are more sensitive, but know that this person is not going to react negatively towards how you feel. And I think that's kind of like the situation that we're referencing here. Like I won't get into the details of it because it's
of
it's
course.
it's really not. But um, it was just one of those things where like I just got in my head too much about it, and I didn't just say it at that moment because I didn't feel like if I said it then, it would come out the way that it's intended to come out.
Mm.
If that makes sense. So that's why I kind of just swallowed it for a day, paused, and then I'm not gonna edit that one out. But I kind of just let that one be, and then the next day we kind of just hashed it out in a sense, and it was like, oh, that was it, and it was like, yeah, oh, okay, like so it was really a non-issue that in my head I made an issue that shouldn't have been an issue per se. But I think it's just that it's just learning how to communicate it, the tone you use. You can then escalate to like, yo, you made me feel a certain way during this situation, and know that that's going to become a conversation as opposed to an argument.
Mm.
Yep.
And a lot of the things you also said that you guys constantly consciously made that choice. Like you got to repeatedly make that choice. Like, all right, I'm not going anywhere. So how are we gonna fix this? I thought that was beautifully put. Um, yeah, it seems to me like one of the biggest things that saves a marriage is that communication aspect and that understanding. Um, but yeah, Hasio, my question
Yeah,
was
because
okay. My fault. Go ahead.
my bad, not to cut you off. I think one of the biggest, and I don't know this by research, this is just me thinking. I think one of the reasons that maybe a lot of relationships either fail leading up to marriage or in marriage is just that. It's just maybe one side or both sides are just unaware of how to communicate or scared to communicate in a certain way. And then you just kind of blow up
Yeah.
because at some point you hold in things so much or so long or whatever that you eventually just, it's everything. It's like a mush, a pot of spaghetti just coming out and spilling all over the floor. And then now you're just trying to pick up all these pieces while trying to rebuild and stuff like that. So what I would say, like my advice, unwarranted, unsolicited advice to folks out there is don't be afraid to communicate because that person might want to communicate or want you to communicate, and they're just waiting for you to just say like, just tell me how you feel, basically. Just tell me, and then we'll work it out. Whether it's, but don't wait till it's too late.
Mm. Yeah, because it piles up, right? The little things become the big things,
It
and
does.
And then you blow up.
Just like laundry, man. If you don't do your laundry every week, every 2 weeks, next thing you know, you got no clothes to wear. You're buying stuff that becomes laundry, and y te jodite. Now you got 3 weeks, a month worth of laundry that you got to do in 3 days.
then
Hmm.
you gotta wear a thong.
Ya lo sabes. Oh man.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah. Um, what would you say was your biggest? So this was my question. This goes with my question. Answer. What would say was your biggest surprise? Like like from your expectations before it, then once you're in it, like what was your biggest like? Oh snap! I didn't realize I was gonna. Okay, this is what. Um, this is something I didn't know. This was gonna be something that I would need to be like revisit or you know experience for it to work. Oh, this
You
goes
want
for
me
me.
to answer that one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, my bad. I think the biggest, honestly, how simple things can be. And I say that because we see like relationships on TV and social media, and we think that everything has to be this super grand thing. But, I think on the first episode that we had of Sophisticated Savages, I spoke about how Yo Yo will go to Target and buy me peach rings and a honey bun. And that right there that's to me, that's grand. And 'cause to me, it's like, oh, shoot, she thought about me when she went to Target to buy whatever she went to buy. She decided to go down this aisle that she had no business going down and got me a bag of peach rings. So I was like, for me, that it's the little things you do day to day that matter more than this big grand thing. Not saying that you shouldn't do the grand thing every once in a while, which we do. Like we celebrate our anniversary every year, make sure that's a thing. We make sure our birthdays are a thing. Little things like that, milestones. Like we recognize or acknowledge certain milestones. Like when she told me she was pregnant with our first kid, or we find out the second kid, stuff like that. So we acknowledge these things. But I think the day to day things, the little things, like even just if I come home and dinner's done after she knows that I've had the worst and longest day and the kids are bathed, like that stuff is going to get done regardless whether she does it or I do it. But the fact that she was like, yo, let me take away from a little bit of me time and handle this. So when he gets home after his terrible day, he doesn't have to do anything but just take a shower and chill. And
Mm,
vice versa. Like I'll do the same as well. Like it's a mutual thing. But I think that's kind of the biggest thing, like how simple things can be when you don't overcomplicate things in your mind.
mm.
Hmm.
I like that. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Now I was just gonna mention, like when I was younger, what my expectation, I guess, was of marriage, and like how it's transformed or evolved since then. So growing up, I guess was in this religion slash cult, Jehovah Witnesses or whatever, and the way they did marriages was a bit different. Um, but when I was there, and I was, at that time, I wanted to eventually like get married or whatever. And it was gonna be with somebody of like similar faith and beliefs. Um, Felt like I wanted it to be a destination wedding, like on the beach and stuff. We'll all wear white and stuff. But eventually, when I turned like 20-ish, uh, I stopped thinking about marriage in that way. Um, and I was more open to more ideas. So it could have been, she could have been of whatever belief or religion, I guess. Like I would have accepted her. Probably would have been a more modern wedding, like, straight to the point, everybody come and party or whatever. Um, but now, like, I'm afraid of marriage. And there's a lot of reasons, I guess. One, a divorce rate is crazy. Two, America, the way they incentivize divorce and marriages is kind of scary. It's more of a business than out of like love and authenticity, right? Of your couple. So it's hard to find like the correct suitor, the correct partner in today's climate. Um, and then yeah, I kind of just, and then like seeing my brother's first marriage, the way that turned out, kind of pushed me away from like the type of wedding I wanted, and it also showed me like there was a lot of like red flags, even though they were under the same belief and religious stuff, they still weren't aligned completely. They had two different ways of thoughts and processes of what they wanted their marriage to be like. And I feel like in that aspect or that one, my brother kind of just wanted to make her happy and wanted to get married and kind of just did things the way she wanted to do it. Um, and I don't know if that was the correct move, but their marriage lasted only a few years, for whatever reason. So that kind of turned me off to marriages, just seeing how sometimes you can try to give a person the world and it still not be enough, and they'll still bring you trouble and despair and sorrow. Um, Kind of turned me off completely to just, if I do find a partner, like I still want it to feel like a marriage. Like we'll still do things, take care of each other, look out for each other, support each other, listen to each other. Um, but I don't know if I'll ever get married. So my experience and my perspective on marriage has changed a lot, and it could forever change because I also noticed other couples and relationships how great they are and how well they work together. So like I wouldn't say never ever, but it's like a 30% chance that I would. Um and yeah, that's kind of like where I am right now with marriage in general. Like I'm all for it for people that are really into it and love it, but I myself I don't know if I want to do all that. I'm probably jaded, so yeah.
I love the honesty. I love the honesty. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I hear you. I hear you 100% on that fear. I think that's real. That's just real talk. Um, you know, I guess my overall expectation or perspective on marriage when I was a child was, everything ended in happily ever after, right? We watch these movies growing up, and we think everything is it's smooth sailing. But once you get into your first relationship, you realize, oh, it's not how they depict these things to be. So um, you get to see like a lot of the simple stuff, the simple life becomes
Hmm.
mainly the main thing, really, because like you go through relationships in stages, right? You got the honeymoon stage, then there's this other
Mm.
stage, and then it gets to a point where like, all right, there's gonna be moments you're gonna hate each other's guts, and so how do you guys handle that situation, right? So I don't think you really know who you're with or who you have unless until you experience some conflict, a lot of conflict with them to see how they handled it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now my perspective on marriage is mostly that. Like I used to put love as the first thing before. Like love used to be like the number one thing that needed to be be a part of the for a marriage to work.
Mm-hmm.
But the older I get, the more I realize that a lot of it goes with sacrifices, right? Love is still important, of
Mm-hmm.
course. That's where the seeds grow. But most of it is really um, the sacrifice to make the relationship and the marriage work. I think like that's um, and that can
Great
look
point.
and that can look like many things, like a myriad of things. But it all comes down to like choices, right? And you're choosing like, all right, I'm not leaving, you're not leaving, so how are we gonna make this work? Like, I think like that's mainly my main perspective on what makes a marriage work mostly. But I also do have that fear that Hasiel has, which is, like, all right, like if I'm gonna sacrifice all this stuff. I hope that it doesn't go in vain, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like and I think like that's a fear that a lot of us are very afraid to even speak about, and we don't like to even mention it to that person because it's like, all right, this person is treating me like beautifully, amazing, right? Like when you're in that honeymoon stage, you're like, wow, this feels good. But then there's this little healthy amount of fear in the background that you think that I don't know, like you're just kind of thinking that like something I don't know, like there's something about it that makes you feel uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's happened to you guys, that everything is good, but for some reason you just feel like, all right, what's the catch? Like
Right.
is what's gonna like what is gonna happen here? And I think that the more we could communicate about stuff like that and it being normalized and like, I think that would save us a lot of trouble and um in these relationships and marriages. Um but I'm still hopeful. I'm a hopeful romantic. Even no matter how fearful I get, I still have that belief and faith that kind of makes me feel like, all right, I'm here and I'm here for a reason. There's a purpose for me. And I still have that hope that marriage is something that, that's here for me for this existence. Um, but as far as what it looks like, I it kind of looks a lot like how Roberto put it before. Like we're your best friend, and you guys are just trying to you're hanging out every day. You're gonna have conflicts, but yeah, you're gonna you're gonna get better at handling those conflicts over time because you're gonna continue to choose each other every single day. And I think that's where it stems from, and that's what holds a marriage together um, to be successful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also too, there are a lot of layers within a relationship in general, but especially one leading to marriage. Like we didn't even, and I don't know how deep you guys want to go into it, but even just like family dynamics on either side or on both sides.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
once um you're in a relationship or you get married, whatever, how those two dynamics now come into play because now your partner is getting to see the way you were raised and gets to see how you grew up and vice versa. And it's like, okay, now you start to like look at little things and it's like, how do you approach that situation? Because that's like sensitive to like the 100th degree. It's like, hey, the way you grew up and those certain habits that you have or certain tendencies, whatever, that may not work in now our new nucleus that we're trying to build here. Um, and that's a conversation that, you know, we've had as well. Like growing up, like we would ask each other certain questions. And that's how you kind of, that's the way that she approached it with me to not offend me or out of fear of offending me. It's like, hey, so when X, Y, and Z happened, I noticed that you did that. Is that something that you grew up doing, or is that just how you are? You know, and that's kind of the way she broached the question, and which was to me, it was perfectly said the way she said it. So I knew what she was thinking instantly, and it's like, no, 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 you don't got to worry about that. That's just the way X, Y, and Z. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. Like, and you guys probably experienced this having, you know, moms and grandmas and all that stuff living with you guys. You can make your bed, but your mom is gonna go make your bed again. Or you can clean something, your mom is gonna go clean something again. That may just happen. That's how my mom was. So like if I made my bed or not, my mom was still in my room finding something to clean. So
Mm,
she would see that and be like, yo, are you depending on your mom to just do everything for you? Or do you, and I had to explain, like, nah, this is just, my mom is Dominican woman, stay at home mom. I can do this 1,000 times and she's going to come and do it 1,001 times. Just because she needs her mom touch on everything.
mm,
So, you know, again, that's a small little concern. It's like, but I had to like let her know, like, nah, I know how to do X, Y, and Z. It's just my mom is my mom.
right.
And you know, obviously, some issues are much bigger than just making your own bed or knowing how to make your bed. But that kind of, you know, again, those little things, that kind of, that's like what Cesar said. That's kind of what the relationship is. That's what the marriage ends up being. It's learning each other and adjusting or whatever the case may be. Like just going with it, you know, and finding out what works, what doesn't, what you're gonna let slide, what you won't let slide, all in love and respect, obviously, grounded in that, and just going from there.
Yeah, that's a great point, Roberto. I'm glad that you mentioned the whole family aspect of the marriages also and couples in general. Because one of the thoughts that came to mind about um, the wedding that I went to, my cousin told me at one point, he's like, "Yo, you see that father-in-law over there? That's the best father-in-law I could have ever asked for." And like he was just so happy that that was his father-in-law. So like that, those things like that could go a long way. Like, when you're dating somebody, you're not only dating their present self, you're dating their childhood as well.
Yep.
And and as you can imagine with childhood stuff, those topics can become very sensitive. So, you're gonna kind of have to find a way to be a master of how to handle those inner child experiences and possibly wounds, and and kind of figure your partner out to the best of your abilities so that you could subside those triggers, right? But at the same time still get your point across.
Yeah, that's super important. And then, yeah, like the relationship that you have with your in-laws, I think is very important. Like, shout out to my in-laws. I have great in-laws, sister-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law. I'm low key, and actually, I'm not even gonna say low public information. I'm my in-laws' favorite kid. They
Mm.
definitely like me more than they like their own two kids. And my wife and her sister know this. Um, but you know, I also bring a different dynamic. Like they had two girls. They've never had like a son per se, like in the family. So me bringing that dynamic, that difference, kind of being that son for my mother-in-law and for my father-in-law, something that they didn't really experience their whole life. is different for them. So, it's probably why I'm the favorite out of all of us there. Um, but I'll take it. And then on the other side too, like the way my parents are with my wife, and the way like my sister and both my sisters, they're super cool with my wife. My brother treats her like it's his own sister as well. And just that dynamic is very important because we are very grounded in our family. Um, we love our families, and our families are very important to us. So having that relationship with the in-laws was a very big part for us, and something that we communicated with each other as well. It's like, hey, just so you know, like we're very close with our siblings, we're very close with our parents. Um, it's important for us to have a good relationship with the in-laws. So when there is conflict with the in-laws, because that's inevitable, um, how do we how do we get past that? How do we move forward with that? And how do we communicate? Because again, we're dealing with two completely different family dynamics. Like my family, we weren't great with communicating how we felt, but her family is. They're amazing at learning how to a fault sometimes, because it may lead to an argument. But at the end of the day, that argument is what kind of gets them over the hump.
Yeah.
So now I had to learn how to do that. Like when I have a conflict with her sister, who was younger when we started dating, how do I work that out? So learning how to communicate with the in-laws through her was very important for both of us, and vice versa. So yeah, family dynamic is a thing. So you're not just marrying the person; sometimes you're marrying the family, but you also have to learn to set those boundaries,
Mm.
which is big. And I think we've done a pretty good job, despite my in-laws trying to be all up in my business sometimes.
Thank you for your
I love
support.
just yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah.
No, but that's real.
Uh, to
That's real talk.
yeah, to piggyback off of that, I definitely had a lot of those issues at first as well. And learning how to communicate with the in-laws, and vice versa as well. Them communicating with my parents. Um, but yeah, at this point, we kind of know what boundaries not to cross, and we've had those conversations. Um, Not that they won't cross them, but you kind of know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
When you marry someone, you're also marrying their their family and also their childhood, and those are things
And
that
their trauma.
yeah, and that's why it's another reason why that fear comes in because it's like there's certain things that you just kind of wish to remain hidden, but unfortunately, it's just gonna come out at some point, right? There's certain things that you just maybe sometimes I don't know, you wanna kind of conceal it for yourself, but it's gonna come out eventually, you know.
And
And
can
that's
I tell you
also
something?
yeah. Go ahead.
Once you're able to get to a point where you let that out, especially with that person, that shit is such a relief, bro.
I could only imagine.
Like, because like just imagine you at, we'll say 16, carrying this weight on your shoulders, and now you're 26 and you're married. Now you're in your 30s and you're married, you got kids, but you're still holding. But once you release that, bro,
Yeah.
and you tell this person, yo, this is what I dealt with at 16, and this is why I've done certain things. This is why I act a certain whatever it is, bro. It is the most relieving thing for you personally, but also the way that you're making your partner feel by trusting them and only them with
Mm,
this weight that you've had on your shoulder is like incredible. And we've had this experience, on a couple of occasions where there are things that we kind of grew with or we went through, and we said it to each other, and it was just like, oh, you trusted me with that, so this is for real, like we for real, and it's just one of the most like gratifying, stress relieving, like most refreshing things that I think you will ever experience as a human being is when you're able to trust a person to the degree that you can say your quote unquote deepest, darkest secret to. And know that you're not going to be judged or it's not going to be held against you. It's not going to be thrown in your face later on during an argument. Like it's just one of those, like, not that it's a one and done, because then now you got to work through that. But, like you just let out everything that has held you back for, a decade or so or more.
Mm,
It's, of course, you have to get to the point where you are comfortable with that person and vice versa to say like, all right, I trust you to this degree. It's not like some high school thing where you're like, oh my god, you're like this person, and it's like now you told, it's much deeper than that.
Yeah,
But it's one of the best feelings in the world to let that out.
yeah.
mm,
I can piggyback off of that. When I did couples therapy a few years ago, I had a moment like that where I was able to like finally get everything off my chest. Uh, and after that, things have gotten better, and it was just such a relief to get it off, like in a safe way, I guess. Like somebody mediating and no anger or violence and stuff. Um, and then just being able to get through that and just being able to learn how to cope and communicate afterwards, it's been like the best thing. Because like there's no more like secrets or anything like that. Like you kind of know who I am at my core, and you kind of either accept it or you don't. So it was something like that. So it was good. So I definitely understand that sentiment.
that's beautiful,
Yeah,
man. That's beautiful.
yeah,
That is, and for people out there, like, kudos to you for mentioning that you went to like couples counseling. For
mhm,
people out there who can't figure things out, like, go for it. I've never experienced it. I've never had to go or gone through counseling or anything like that, therapy for marriage. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. So like, don't feel embarrassed that you have to go through that or you're considering that. Like, make sure you do it, because at the end of the day, the outcome is, the reward is greater than the risk, basically.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely, you got to put the work in.
yes,
Mm.
What do you say something?
No, no, yes. I was gonna say the disclaimer that we're not, professionals here. So, definitely, if you
we are.
feel like you need professional advice, for sure, try to go to, even if it's just a single therapist. It doesn't have to be couples. It could be, just
Yeah,
one-on-one therapy. Maybe you could start there and then see how it is, and then, you make the best choice that you feel you need to make for you. And this is coming from a
yeah,
man that hasn't gone to professional help yet, but I am definitely open to it. Uh, I know I could use the help for sure. Um, but to close out, guys, what's your, overall? Este, I mean, I think we pretty much we covered a lot. But y'all have any final thoughts with the marriage theme before we go to the next segment?
don't make people suffer for hours at your wedding, bro. My bad. That's all.
That's a good one. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah, yeah. Some things to consider for sure. Oh man.
Yeah, peace and love to everybody in that union. It's not easy. Work on it every day. That's what they say.
Yeah, I would say I would agree to that. Like, don't get too complacent.
Mm.
Um, like, always make sure you're doing something. Make sure you're always communicating. Make sure you're always listening actively. Um, keep an eye on social cues going on. Make sure you're doing those little things that may not seem like a big grand gesture, but at the end of the day, you don't know what that person may have gone through during the day that they're not communicating just yet.
Mm,
And that little thing that you've done could completely just flip the switch for them in a positive way. So just continue to communicate, continue to show that person some grace and understanding. Because just because you're married doesn't mean you're gonna say what you're feeling at that very second. Sometimes you just need a moment to digest it for yourself individually before you're able to say it out loud. So, you
mm,
know, have empathy, be kind, be good, learn to communicate, find the best way to communicate, and just have fun, man. Have fun. You're with your best friend. Enjoy it. It's a ride. It's a marathon, and just enjoy the freaking ride, man.
mm,
There's one I heard recently that I thought was pretty impactful. That you're not the same person that you are when you get married, and then you basically turn into somebody else like 10 years later. I thought that was kind of impactful, not like in a bad way, just like you kind of grow up in a way with the person that you kind of change who you are, um, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I
That
mean, essentially, you're you guys are raising each other
mm,
in a different way than you were raised by your parents
mm,
because now the foundation's different. You're starting from scratch basically because you don't know who this person is. So you're starting from scratch, and yes, there's that childhood and all that stuff that's coming along with it, but you're relearning certain things and you're kind of growing from it, growing through it, and then rebuilding it in your own foundation that you've created with your love and your trust and your honesty and all this other stuff that you bring together. So now you can grow up in adulthood. You're basically raising an adult together or with each other the way that you envisioned it, essentially, the way that you guys planned it together. So now it's not like you're depending on your parents to teach you these values. You're learning the values that you want to have together. And now you're creating life when you eventually have kids within those values. And, I don't know. I think it's cool. I definitely agree. The person I was 10 years ago is not the person I am today. Like 10 years ago, we might have had an argument where today we just talk it out and
mm,
realize it's not that big of a deal. Like, not everything has to be a fight, not everything has to be this big thing. Sometimes it's just like oh, that's what you meant. All right, cool. What do you want for dinner today?
mm,
And that's not saying swept it under the rug. That's we learned how to communicate after the 11 years of marriage and almost freaking 20 years of relationship. How to communicate healthy without it being this long, drawn out back and forth.
mm.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, the overall, I guess, overall themes that I got from this talk was one, cater to your partner's vulnerabilities with care. Definitely create that safe space for your partner to express themselves and not feel like they're going to be, we're going to be defensive or we're going to hold it against them. Uh, Another thing is embrace your partner's changes or with curiosity instead of with resentment,
Mm,
because we're going to continue to grow and evolve. And, I think that if we can kind of have this childlike um, perspective on them instead of trying to like, no, I don't want you to change or whatnot. Like, like to obviously depending on what it is, but um, I forgot the third part, but yeah, those are the first two main parts um, that came to mind when I was listening to you guys talk. Oh, and obviously, definitely, be mindful of the wedding guest as well. Whenever you do decide to have a ceremony, like
Mm,
be mindful
yes.
the setting, um, the cost,
Hmm.
the the waiting around, everything. Like just there's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
On
don't
that
go ahead.
on that topic, don't listen to family when it comes to the guest list. Y'all
Okay.
sit down, y'all hammer it out because this person is gonna want to invite fulanito that you've never talked to. This person's gonna want to invite this. That's
Good point.
between y'all two.
Hmm.
Good
Keep
point.
that. That was one thing that we made sure to do. Is we didn't listen. Like people wanted to invite people that we don't have relationships with, and it's like, nah, we paying per plate. We're paying for this. Like the people we want is the people we want. So that's something that, again, that's the setting boundaries thing that I said before with family and things like that. Is making sure that yes, we love our family, but let's set this boundary. This is between you and I. Let's make it work. And that's something that we were very much in agreement with certain things with the wedding. It's
Mm.
and any party, like even birthday parties for kids, like we don't invite everybody.
Mm.
We know who to invite to certain things, and it's like because we have to protect them, you know, because you just never know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. On
And
that
don't beef
note,
don't beef with the bridesmaid. Man.
very solid advice.
Anyways, that'll be a whole different topic another day.
Uh, yeah. But guys, y'all think we have a time for a round of substance?
Yeah, let's do one. Before we jump into it, I just want to say, any women out there who are single and Cesar's a great man. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He's down for weddings, and great dude. I know him personally. I've known him for damn near 20 years or something like that, if not more.
More, I think.
That dude is a catch. He's a gem. Don't be shy. Hit him up in those DMs. What do you guys want to do? There's blind F, there's
Appreciate that.
intimacy, and there's vulnerable.
Well, I guess let's go to vulnerable because I think that's don't get shy now.
I'm scared.
Dang. How many are we doing? Just one? This might be a
Yes.
good one, actually. This is a good card.
Okay. Good.
So this one is, what has been your biggest reality check moment in life?
Oh God.
Oh my.
Oh man.
Wow.
I'm gonna go first and I'm gonna keep it PG. Having kids is
Uh,
definitely a big reality check because now you're responsible for these little creatures and beings, these little gods and goddesses. So just it's a reality check because you got to be a good role model. I feel like for myself, I want to be a good role model. I want to bring people, my children, to be like a productive member of society. I don't want no lazy child that doesn't contribute to society or pushing the needle forward. Um, and I want them to be respectful of other people too, and other people's beliefs and that in general. So I think to me, just raising them has been the biggest reality check because then they start checking you, and the things you say and do, and it's very humbling when your own kids point out your flaws or your lies or whatever it may be. So
Completely unfiltered, by the way.
yeah, for sure. I don't know if you guys know. I probably mentioned it before. My kids started cursing. Man, it was just f this f that every other second. So I had to definitely reconsider how I communicate things, and not just me, just the environment that they're in as well.
hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, that was gonna be my answer, just fatherhood, because
okay,
yeah, bro, like the moment you walk out of the hospital, with that kid, with your first kid, is like a surreal moment because you enter a completely different universe. And you went from just like you're just you to now like everything is like a safety hazard. Like even to this day, like I have an 8-year old and a 1-year old. I look around everywhere I go, bro. Like I have my guard up, like I'm ready for anything. And I don't think people realize how like, and I'm trying to, and I mean this in the most like not violent way possible, but like I don't think people realize how ready to kill someone you are when you're with your
Mm,
kids. Like
mm,
at any moment, you will, I will snap. And not that I'm looking for trouble, not that, like I'm going to escalate it to like, I'm going to choke someone out. But like, I don't think people realize like, if you mess with my kids, I may in fact rip your head off, literally, if it gets to the point that this person is trying to escalate it to. Thankfully, I've never dealt with a situation like that where I've had to press anyone or anything like that. But I don't think people realize like that just happens naturally to you. And maybe it's just me, but like I am so like ready for it if it gets to that point. And that has been one of the craziest things for me to like realize that lives inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
But know like, yo, I am willing to literally hurt somebody in the worst way possible if you cross this line. And that's a reality check for me, man. Because I don't think I've ever, even like if you mess with my mom, like we're going. You mess with my wife, we're gonna go at it. But you mess with my kids, that's different because my kids are the only thing ever that literally comes from me that I have that I can say that those are mine. Nothing else on this planet, on this earth is you can say that, but your kids is something you can always say like those are my kids.
mm.
So yeah, like it's that's yeah,
I feel you.
yeah. And again, I'm not saying I'm gonna go out there and just like murk dudes and just call it a no. It's not like that. It's
You're gonna size them up.
there's a if you cross a threshold and talking you down is not working, this isn't working, de-escalation is not working. Now there's a different side of me that has never been tapped into that exists. That
Mm.
was dormant for 27 years, which is when I had my first kid at 27. That was awoken up the moment I walked out of that hospital. And then
Wow.
I had to relearn all that again when my daughter was born. And then again, we could have a whole episode on like kids and
Kids.
stuff like that, but my daughter is a little bit different. And I don't know if it's because she's a girl, not to make it a sexist thing, but there's a different level, I feel like. You're a father to a son and a father to a daughter, but we'll save that for the next episode.
True.
Yeah, no, piggyback on what y'all were saying, I was listening to a podcast one time, and I think somebody mentioned that the first time that they finally understood murder was when they had their first child. Like before that, they never like they're like, why would somebody murder somebody else? And then they finally would realize like, oh, okay. So it makes a lot of sense that that's the most reality check moment for you guys. Um, I mean, I'm not a dad, I'm not a father, not yet. Um, but I guess my biggest reality check moment is probably when I moved out. Um, and I lived with someone else. I think that a lot of times we think that we're okay, like, in certain areas in our lives, especially psychologically and stuff. But then a lot of times with a partner, you kind of realize like what parts of you you're not free. So,
Mm,
Wait, what parts
uh,
of you are not what?
free. Like you think that like
Free?
free, like
Interesting.
yeah, like that. Your partner
Okay.
exposes a lot of parts of you that you thought you were good in, but then you're like, oh snap, why is this triggering me? Why am I reacting to this way, etc., etc. So that was a big reality check moment for me. Like I thought I was good, and then I got very serious with someone, and it kind of exposed a lot of areas in me that I was like, oh shit, okay, I got work to do. So, but yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Damn, that's good stuff. This
Yeah.
is a good episode, fellas. I'm glad we jumped back on and did this.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I was nervous beforehand.
Yeah. No, I mean it is nerve wracking for the people listening out there. Like sometimes the reason we don't always record from this podcast is because it's heavy stuff,
Hmm.
and sometimes you don't know how deep to go and how far to go and what to say and things like that. So, um, I think we've done a pretty good job of making sure we got our point across with staying within the limits that we're comfortable with. So,
Right.
Agree.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and I
Appreciate you
appreciate
guys for
and
opening.
yes, and I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. If you guys have any comments, anything that we might have missed or you might disagree with, let us know, and also let us know what topics or themes you guys would like for us to discuss on future episodes as well. Nah, fellas, this was fun. Till next time, I'll see y'all soon. And for everyone tuning in, keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. And we love ya.
Peace out.
Peace and love, yo.